to Arjuna, look at where it is. It is not like in a comfortable situation, sitting in a palace in a comfortable way, sitting there and doing no. Right on the in the battlefield, just the war is about to broke out, and before the war is breaking out, the Upadesha is given before the war broke out. So Arjuna is given the instruction while in a hot seat actually. So this is our in our life also. Every day we face all kinds of hard problems. So how it is applicable to us means just as the spiritual knowledge is not only for while doing tapas or a relaxed position or something. It is even in a very very difficult situations. It is very applicable, very practical because how we should conduct ourselves. Here, same thing in Bhagavad Gita. We are doing the verse number 18 for second chapter. Antavanta ime dehaha nityasya yukta sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmad yidhyasva bharata. Hey Arjuna, wake up, get participate in the war. This is the message given to Arjuna, and in this sloka, Acharya in Tatparya elaborately talks about the apparent abheda vakyas, the identity statements that are there in Upanishads. So, what has this verse to do with that, and how does it apply to Arjuna? How does it apply to us? Means when we are doing any sadhana, any activity, we should have the awareness of Paramatma and we should also have the knowledge how Paramatma is conducting all those activities through us. So it is very, very essential for us in our daily activities also. And Acharya never says one letter more than what is needed. In this sloka, 18th verse for chapter 2, Acharya goes elaborately in Tatparya. Bhagavad Acharya wrote, as you all know, two commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. One is Bhashya, another one is Tatparya. Why two commentaries means? Bhashya gives one kind of a flow, Tatparya gives another kind of a flow. So, in Tatparya, the Paramatma Swarupa is concentrated directly, and in Tatparya, Paramatma Swarupa is, in Bhashya, Paramatma Swarupa is concentrated with respect to the Jiva, Paramatma. Of course, both place Jiva and Paramatma relationship is indicated. In Bhashya, one kind of flow is given, in Tatparya, another kind of flow. And both are very, very compatible flows, not that they're any contradiction or anything. They are same like two lines of a train. They are giving two different approaches, but for clear understanding of Paramatma. So here, Tasmad Yujyasva Bharata, for that reason, you take part in the battle. So what reason? For that reason, for what reason? Anashinaha Aprameyasya. He is Anashi and Aprameya Paramatma. For him, we do whatever we do, it should be in the form of Prata Prabhuti Sayantam, Sayadi Prataram Tata, Yatkaromi Jagannatha, Tadastata Pujanam, as we say, everything has to be a worship for Paramatma. Even we have daily activities. Whatever we do, it is to be, that means, can we do some wrong things and say, call that as Bhagavanta's worship? No. Why? Because when we are offering to Paramatma, when we have this right understanding that Paramatma is Swatantra, we are Swatantras, he is making us do as per our Swabhava, we all, whoever has a good Swabhava, will automatically, I want to do good things only. They will have that inherent feeling. If they do any wrong thing, they say, feel the repentance. Oh, Bhagavan, I made a wrong thing. Please prevent me from doing wrong things in future. Help me not to do this or repeat the wrong thing again. Put me in the right path. Give me the right opportunities. Make me do the right thing. Give me the right prerana, right instigation, and make me do right things. So this prayer has to be constantly. We don't have to stop our activities. We do all our activities parallelly. We think of Paramatma and his role, his independent Swatantra role and our Aswatantra roles. But at the same time, just because we are Aswatantra doesn't mean we don't have Kartutva. We have Aswatantra Kartutva is there. So Bhagavanta is making us do things as per our Swabhava, and whatever we deserve, he gives us. And at the same time, he has that apara karuna Swabhava. He forgives so many mistakes that we do. His tolerance is unlimited. But that doesn't mean he will just ignore all the mistakes and give, because that becomes partiality. He has to treat people as per their karmas. Then only he is impartial. If he gives the same good result to for all the people, irrespective of their good or bad actions, then he is biased towards the people who are doing bad actions, because he is giving good results without their doing good actions. Even though they do bad actions, he is giving good results. That becomes partiality. Vaishamya dosha. So he is dosha rahita. So he will give as per the whatever the jiva deserves, and as per the karmas, he gives the results. So we always pray to him. Of course, even that instigation he gives, but at the same time, he will make us pray to him if our swabhava is good. So that way, we know that whatever we are doing is Bhagavad Prerana, so that knowledge is there. And in this sloka, Tasmad Jidyasva Bharata, for that reason you fight, means for the reason Anashi Aprameya Paramatma, his puja rupa, you do battle. Don't say, okay, I don't do the fight the war, I don't do my duty, I'll just do something whatever I like, and I'll call Dev Puja. I'll call that. Why not? Means no. This is the sloka Tasmad. For that, what reason? It is your kartavya, and this Jada Deha is anyway destroyable, and the Swarupa Deha is eternal, and you are unnecessarily worrying about Bhishma Dronas when they are supporting adharma. It is your duty to oppose that activity. Your role, your duty is to oppose adharma. That is the ultimate. So Krishna says in the Upodghata Acharya explains that the Krishna's words. He says anything that you do. So Narayan Dvit tad anubandhi nigrahameva karyam tadeva paramodharmaha. So Paramadharma is Bhagavanta's message, and for that reason Dharma Stapana, the good of the society. The society has to be protected. You are a Kshatriya, so to protect the good and to punish the evil, your Dharma. So you are entitled for that. So you have to do, because people are all looking out up you. They're looking up to you. You are their protector. That's what they're expecting. So you better do your duty. Same thing in our life. Whatever is our responsibilities, we have to discharge those responsibilities with total dedication to God. So with this message, when we are doing, we hear in the internet so many places, Jiva Brahma Aikyavada. So many people, like you might have seen, I don't have to mention the names of the people. So many Advaita scholars, they come and they say Jiva Brahma are same. So we get confused. Acharya, in his time itself, he knew what is going to happen in future, and what things were happening in his times also. He knows that things will continue in future also. So he is giving a message in this sloka while explaining Tatparya. This says, Nacha, so Nacha, not at all, not at all. What are not at all? He gives a list of things which are apparent abheda vakyas. Like, for example, Yatra tu anya sarvam atma eva abhut tat kena kam pashyet. So we went through all this briefly, and same way, yadvai tanna pashyati pashyan vai tanna pashyati nahi drashtuhu dustehe viparilopo vidyate avinashitvat natu tadvitiyam asti tato anyad vibhaktam yat pasyet. So there's no second thing. Paramatma alone is there. He's avibhakta. Whatever. So if somebody has to see something, if two things are there, then one sees the other. If two things are there, one hears the other. There are no two things. Everything is one. This is what the interpretation they gives. Paramam Brahma, Veda Brahma Yobhavati. Whoever knows about Brahma becomes Brahma himself. This is the apparent meaning that they give. And Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi. So here we are doing Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi. All those things we covered, I am the Brahman. So these statements, the apparent statements which give Advaita, the popular Advaita. Actually, the word Advaita are very, very, very interesting words, because in Upanishad also Advaita terminology is used. In real life, we are using those for the schools of thought. Unfortunately, whatever the Vedic Advaita is, that is exactly opposite of the Advaita popular school that is there. That those two are diametrically opposite. Same way, whatever Dvaita means Anyatha Jnana. Upanishad actually, in Upanishads, you see, Dvaita is condemned. Dvaita Jnana is not good. That says Dvaita means there in Upanishads, Mithya Jnana, wrong. That means thinking that there are two Bhagavad Swarupas, like Nirguna Brahma, Saguna Brahma, two Brahmans are there. Or this is all Dvitva Jnana. That is wrong knowledge. Wrong knowledge, in that sense, Dvaita word is used in Upanishads. But in real life, we say Dvaita school. So the Dvaita that is mentioned in Upanishad is diametrically opposite to Dvaitas. So why did we name it as Dvaita and Advaita? When the Dvaita and Advaita are used in particular sense in Upanishads, why they are used in a different sense? Because one word can have multiple meanings. It can have even a diametrically opposite meanings. For example, paryaptam tatasmakam balam bhima. So that balam bhishma bhirakshitam paryaptam tidamidesham balam bhima bhirakshitam. When Duryodhana says, there that paryapta word has two opposite meanings. Same way, Dvaita, Advaita has two opposite meanings. Why? Because Dvaita means difference. Advaita, non-difference or monism, oneness. Advaita means oneness. Dvaita means two-ness or multiplicity. When we say oneness or multiplicity, what do we mean? That is very important. Advaita, the terminology that is used in Upanishads, Advaita, oneness means oneness of Paramatma. All the forms of Paramatma are the same. That is the Advaita meaning in Upanishad. Dvaita means in Upanishad, seeing the difference in Paramatma and his guna, seeing the difference or seeing difference in Paramatma and his avataras. This perceiving this difference is Dvaita Jnana, Dvitva Jnana. That is the multiplicity, that is bad. So that is bad. But the names that we have given in the popular Advaita school and Dvaita school is Advaita, Jiva Brahma, Aikya is mentioned. Advaita means oneness. Instead of talking about the oneness of all the forms of Paramatma, what the Advaita school has done is it has talked of oneness of Jiva and Paramatma. But it has talked two-ness of Paramatma, Saguna Brahma, Nirguna Brahma. So it made Brahman as two Brahmans, but it made the same as Jiva and Brahma Aikya. So wherever multiplicity is to be thought of, their multiplicity is killed. Wherever multiplicity is not to be thought, that multiplicity is established. This is done by the Advaita school. But the Upanishad Advaita gives the correct way of doing Advaita. I know maybe it's a little bit confusing, but understand this way. Advaita and Dvaita, these two terms are used in Upanishad in a particular sense, particular meaning, particular way. But the Advaita school actually is doing the exactly opposite of whatever the Upanishad Advaita is. The Dvaita school is doing exactly opposite of what the Dvitva Jnana, wrong knowledge that is mentioned in Upanishads. So the terminology you have to be very careful, because somebody says, hey, somebody comes and tells you, look, Dvaita is condemned in Upanishads means Upanishad is not talking about any school of thought. When it says Advaita is good, Dvaita is bad, it is not talking about the schools. It is talking about the correct knowledge and incorrect knowledge. That is what is mentioned. So unfortunately, the Advaita school of thought is doing the exactly opposite of whatever the Upanishads are instructing. They have taken some of these sentences, they call it Mahavakyas. This terminology Mahavakya was coined by Gaudapada first time, who is Paramaguru of Shankaracharya. Gaudapada started this terminology, and that terminology is continued by Govinda Bhagavad, who is disciple of Gaudapada, and Govinda Bhagavad, disciple of Shankaracharya. They continued this terminology, and they said, okay, this Saguna Brahma, Nirguna Brahma, and Jagat Mithyattvada, and taking these some of the statements for Upanishads, call them as Mahavakyas, like Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, and give them apparent meaning by stripping them out of context. They have quoted them out of context taken these words and explained them in a wrong way, and then rest of all the Upanishads statements which are talking about difference, they have given up on those. That means they have taken less than 1% of whatever is there in Upanishads, less than 1%, labeled them as Mahavakyas. That labeling started only in Gaudapada time. Eda Vyasa never mentioned these Mahavakya terminology in any of his works. Mahabharata or all the Ashtadasha Puranas, he never mentioned this word Mahavakya. In Valmiki Ramayana, you never come across this terminology, Mahavakya terminology, labeling some statements of Upanishads, calling them Mahavakyas. This is not done in Ramayana. This is not done in any standard works prior to Gaudapada. Gaudapada started this Mahavakya approach. Shankaracharya popularized it. So there is no such thing as this Mahavakyas giving identity between Jiva and Brahma is only a wrong understanding, quoting things out of context. Tattvamasi, that the word is popular all over the internet, all over the world. Everybody talks about that, and they say Hinduism teaches Jiva Brahma identity. It says that the word. No, it does not say Tattvamasi. It says Atatvamasi. They have stripped that. Even if they take Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi Acharya has taken without and he has given interpreted that also exactly according to Shastras. Sapta Suprathama, when Prathama Vibhakti, nominative case is used, it is representative of all the cases. You are saying Jiva is Brahman, means Jiva is from Brahman, Jiva is of Brahman, it belongs to Brahman, Jiva is inside Brahman, that means Jiva seeks the support of Brahman. So all the Vibhaktis are applicable, are used, and this Prathama Vibhakti is like an abbreviation of other 6 Vibhaktis. So when Prathama Vibhakti is used, we use it in the real life also. Like suppose somebody says, like, when Microsoft was established, Bill Gates is Microsoft. Doesn't mean Microsoft and Bill Gates, the building is same as my Bill Gates. No, Microsoft company, organization itself is not Bill Gates. Microsoft, no, of course, now somebody else is there, but when Microsoft was founded, Microsoft is Bill Gates, means Microsoft is under the control of Bill Gates. So something is adhinatva. When something is under control of something, people use this, sir, you are everything, sir, means everything happens because of you, sir. So we use this word loosely in real life also. This is very common usage. So when Jiva Brahma Aikya statements are given, even if you take the apparent way, apparent, break it and take it, still it conveys difference only. That all that it means is everything is Brahman, means everything is from Brahman, everything belongs to Brahman, everything is of Brahman, everything is in Brahman, everything is Brahman. That's what it means. It doesn't mean everything is same as Brahman, self-same. It is not. That is not the case. Same way here also, Tattvamasi, when it's taken, we actually were going, sorry, I thought this is very essential, because it is our life. In our life, how we should handle this. How? Because we see all over these statements, everybody says, oh, Hinduism teaches non-difference between Jiva and Brahma. No, it teaches the difference only, not non-difference. So this, we should be able to convince others, we should be able to convince ourselves, we should be able to apply that in our life. Only when that is true, then we do worship Paramatma. This Vyavaharika Satya, Paramarthika Satya concept has to be rejected, because there is no such thing. Of course, Vyavahara is there. Vyavahara, calling something a Vyavahara is different from calling it a Vyavaharika Satya. Just because you do a Vyavahara, it doesn't become a Satya. Don't call it as a Satya. Vyavaharika is okay, you use some terminology for a better understanding or easy understanding. That is fine. But really go to the root of the concept. Any concept, go to the root. Jiva Brahma, we are so limited, so helpless. Paramatma is omnipotent, omniscient. How can these two be identified? Then they give all kind of roundabout explanations only to confuse people. It's all confusion creation. This confusion creation has to be handled properly. For that, the Acharya's words, this Tatparya helps us to approach this thing very, very, very important. And this Tattvamasi, when this context, Shvetaketu comes up with arrogance. Uddalaka, his father Uddalaka, gives him instructions. While giving, when he comes with arrogance, he has to take away the arrogance. He has to give something that humbles him. Now, so imagine somebody comes so arrogant, like, somebody is bitten by a snake, poison is there. You want to give an antidote, you give an antidote. You don't give a much heavier dose of poison. To take out a small amount of poison, you're giving a much heavier dose of poison, it is a disaster. So same way, if Swetaketu has come with arrogance, you have to take out his arrogance, you have to give a statement that will make him humble, and you tell him, you are Paramatma. How can you take away the arrogance? Simple common sense also is gone there. So to remove the arrogance, you should give a statements that take away his arrogance. So here, Atma Tatu Shetaketo, you think you know everything? No, Paramatma is omniscient. He knows everything. You are not him. And to drive the point, he gives 9 examples. See, the 9 examples, Drishtanta, examples that are given are Panchabheda Pratipadaka examples. They give fivefold difference. Actually, you can see fivefold difference in every one of them. And also, the examples are not given in a random fashion. If suppose you want to give 9 examples in real life, you can give examples in any order. But this philosophy is such a heavy dose, such a deep concept. The examples are not chosen in a random way. For example, one of the first few examples is when this Jiva Paramatma Bheda is to be established. Uddalaka tells Shvetaketu. So Acharya explains it in excuse me, Bhashya like this. Yadi swato anyaha paramo dehe asmin samvyavastitaha न दृश्यते कुत इति भूयः पप्रच्छ पुत्रकः अग्नैः अदृश्यमानोऽपि न भेदो नास्ति पुत्रकः यथा पुष्परसायुक्ताः अजानन्तो अपि भेदिनः अजानन्तोऽपि पुरुषाः तथा विष्णोः हि भेदिनः इति पित्रा उपदिष्टः सन् पुत्रः पप्रच्छ तं पुनः चेतनानाम् अविज्ञानं कथमित्येव चिन्तयेन तं प्रत्याह. So here Acharya brings a logical way of this. So, for example, the honey drops is collected from various flowers. They are brought into honey, like beehive. Honey is correct. Once all the honey, everything is mixed up, the honey drops, you cannot differentiate, oh, this belongs to lotus flower, this belongs to some other flower. This kind of differentiation is not possible. They are all together. So what they do, oh, look, this is Abheda. All the drops are mixed. There's only one honey, big collection of honey is there. That's all. You cannot differentiate between different flower honey from different flowers. So this is Abheda. This is how they say. But Acharya explains it logically, and he says, because the Purva non-difference proposition people, what they say is, this is a logical say, न मत्तः अन्यः अस्मिन् देहे अस्ति मया भेदेन अनुपलभ्यमानत्वात् यो अयम् आत्मनः भेदेन न पश्यति स ततो न भिद्यते. So what they say is, in my body, I know that I am different from my body. So I have that experience, that anubhava is there for me. But in my body, the jiva is there, but there is something other than jiva, like a paramatma, or another soul is there in my body, the supreme soul or super soul that you call, it is there in my body, is not available. I don't know whether it's true or not. Anupalabhyamanatvat, that is not available. So when this jivatma paramatma bheda is not seen, I cannot perceive it, I cannot experience it, that means there's no bheda. Jivatma, Paramatma, there are no two entities. Jivatma itself is Paramatma. There's no Bheda. So, because if I don't see a different one, there's no different one here. I experience only Jiva inside the body. I don't experience Paramatma. So there's nobody else there's no such thing as Paramatma in my body. If they bring this argument, we ask them, hey, wait a minute. You are saying I am not seeing a different Paramatma. Who is not seeing? Are you saying the Jnanis, the knowledge of the Aproksha Jnanis, they are not seeing, or Ajnanis, ignorant people, they are not seeing? Who is not seeing? Tell us, who is not seeing? So if we ask the question, suppose they say Jnanis are not seeing, no. Jnanis are all the Aproksha Jnanis, like, you take about Prahalada or Narada. No matter who take, all the Jnanis, Brahma or Rudra, all those, they are perceiving the difference. You cannot say they are not seeing, they are seeing it. No, 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 we are Ajnanis, we are not seeing it. So because we are Ajnanis, we are not seeing, they are not there. There is no such thing as two different Jivatma Paramatma, is not there. If they say this, hey, wait a minute. Just because Ajnanis, ignorant people, they don't see, that doesn't mean there's no difference. Just because they don't see doesn't mean there's no difference. And the first example, this pushparasas, the honey droplets from the flowers, they are all taken up by the honeybees, they are brought and they are put in the honey. Does each honey drop know, oh, I am from so and so flower? It doesn't know. No honey drops knows, I am from so and so flower. They're all mixed together now. But still, it is not one honey droplet. Now you have a huge amount of one honey. You have, like, 1 liter of honey or 2 liters of honey. So much of honey is there. So you cannot say just because the honey drops are not aware of their existence. They don't know the difference among, oh, I am so and so honey drop, I am so honey drop. The honey drops don't have any knowledge. Just because the honey drops don't have knowledge, can you say that there's no difference between one honey drop and another drop? They're different only. Because you test one honey drop, another honey drop is still there. It's still there in a plate or something. Suppose you put honey in the plate. You test one honey drop. One honey drop is inside your stomach. Another honey drop is still in the plate. They're different. You cannot say there's no difference. You cannot say that. Even if they are mixed together, even if the honey drops do not have the knowledge, still every honey drop is different from another honey drop. So the honey drops not being aware does not make it that there's no difference. Even though they are not aware, the difference is there only. So the first example is, then the Purva Paksha, hey, wait a minute. The honey drops knowing, what do you mean? Honey drop is a lifeless object. How can you say a lifeless object knowing that I am so and so, not knowing I am so and so? It doesn't make sense. So lifeless object does not have any knowledge. So why are you talking about honey drop knowing I am different? So jadas having knowledge is not possible. So honey drops don't have knowledge. So your explanation doesn't stand. If they bring that objection, then we say that's why the next example goes, yatha nadi and the rivers and the ocean. The rivers go and join in the ocean. Here, the nadis have abhimani devatas, they are chetanas. The rivers have jada water. Ocean has jada water. So here the difference is explained with keeping in view the chetanas, the nadi abhimani devatas and the samudra abhimani devata Varuna is there. Just because the rivers Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, all these rivers are coming and joining the ocean, do you mean to say the Nadi Abhimani Devatas all merged into Samudra Abhimani? No, they still have separate only. Nadi Abhimani Devatas are different, Samudra Abhimani Devata is different. Just because the Nadi river water mixed with Samudra, the Abhimani Devatas did not get merged. They're separate only. So here Jivas are different. The Nadi Abhimani Devate is different from Samudra Abhimani Devate. The Abhimani Devatas are different. Here Jada is mixed together. The Nadi water, the river water is mixed with the ocean water. Even though they are mixed, we cannot differentiate. Sure, can you say which is river water, which is ocean water after it is mixed? We cannot differentiate. Sure, we cannot differentiate. And even the Abhimani Devatas may not have a clear knowledge. Okay, this water is mine, this is mixed with the ocean, this much is my water. It doesn't care, it doesn't have, it doesn't have clear concept. Of course, they have some concept, okay, my water is mixed with the ocean water, that much awareness they have, but they cannot separate it, take it out or something. But still, the Uttama Devatas, Vayu, Surya, or whatever, they make the water evaporate, the water becomes clouds, it is again showered back into the rivers, and they come back. So the cycle is conducted by higher deities. They know which water is to be taken and put back into the river. They know it, they can differentiate it, they do whatever is to be needed, they maintain the cycle, they do all that. So here Chetanas are also aware of, like Nadi Abhiman Devata, Samudra Abhiman, they are also aware of the difference, even though the Jada is mixed. So here Jiva and Jada both are brought together. So this takes the example a level higher. So same way, the Abhimani, Swatantra and all this, then we explain, okay, here you are talking about Nadi and Samudra Devata, Abhimani Devatas. How do I know Abhimani Devatas? I don't know. I don't know there are Abhimani Devatas or not. They bring another objection. Okay. Then the next example, it takes the another level higher. It says, take a tree. In a take a tree, and the tree has like life is there. We all know that there's a life in the tree. The jiva, vruksha jiva is there. The vruksha jiva, what does it want? It wants that vrukshas to be all green, all nice, everything. But so many trees die, just because the vruksha jiva wants everything to be perfect, things don't happen. There is aswatantra. So he says vruksha jiva kenachit niyamyaha aswatantratvat rathadivat. So just like a chariot or a wall or a house, they are aswatantra. Like that, this Vriksha Jiva itself, even though it's a Chetana, it is aswatantra. What happens? We cut a branch, example is given. You cut a branch of the tree, the branch is separated, and the branch dries out. The tree doesn't dry out. And then another branch is cut, that branch dries out, but the tree doesn't die out. But the Vriksha Jiva would like the branches also to be green, but it is not in its control. So someone else, some other higher Jiva, whatever Mukhya Prana and Mukhya Prana under the control of Paramatma, all those who people believe, but at least there is some other force, some other sentient being who makes the decision. Which branch has to be dried, which branch has to be dried. It is cut off, it is dried. If the whole tree is cut off, the whole tree dries out. So some other Chetana Shakti, Chaitanya, sentient being, is making a decision. What should happen to the tree? Same way in our bodies. We know that, we never decided when we have to be born. We don't know when we are going to die. Our birth and death is not in our control. And the Swatantra is not there. So that means something else is making a decision. There's a decision maker, someone else, higher one. So Jiva Bheda, we can see Jiva Brahma Bheda, you can see Jada Bheda. One body is different from another body. The Jiva in one body is different from the Jiva in another body. And both these are dependent on Paramatma. This Pancha Bhedas can be seen with this example. So the next example takes another level higher. Then another says, hey, how do you know that there is something called Paramatma? Okay, there somebody is making it. Paramatma is there. How do I know? The example. Okay. And also the argument is brought. A different kind of argument can be brought. They say, okay, the Jada has Sthulatva. And when it is Sukshma, Jiva is Sukshma. Sukshma means subtle. Subtle means it's like, it's not even visible. So this subtle, invisible Jiva should be able to see the subtle and invisible Paramatma. Even though Deha, with our physical eye, we cannot see. The Jiva should be able to see Paramatma. My Jiva should be able to, because my Jiva is Sukshma. Paramatma is also Sukshma. So the Sukshma Jiva should be able to see Sukshma Paramatma. If they bring that objection, that is removed with this Negrodha Phala. That means, like, from a banyan tree, he asks him to bring a fruit. And then he asks him to break the fruit. Then he breaks the fruit. Then he says, what is inside? There is a seed. There are a lot of seeds inside. He take one of the seeds, break the seed open. He breaks the seed open. What is inside? He says, nothing is inside. You say there's nothing inside. But all of us, we know, when that seed is planted, that becomes a big, huge tree. So there is some invisible force, though you don't see, and the seed is sukshma. Can the seed see the Paramatma? Even the seed cannot see it. The jiva that is there in the seed, there is a jiva in the tree. The same jiva that is in the seed becomes the jiva in the tree. So this jiva, which is continuing its existence from the seed to the tree, it is not able to see who is making the seed sprout, who is making it to become a huge tree. It is not able to know, even though the seed is so small. The seed may be very small, but still the seed doesn't perceive Paramatma. So just because something is sukshma, it doesn't mean it has to, but at the same time we know that there's an invisible force which is making the seed to become a huge tree eventually. This invisible force is Paramatma. So that is explained. Then they bring another objection. Okay, there is an invisible force that is saying, you are all saying this, but how does this thing work? How should I understand it? How should I have this concept about this Sat Rupa Paramatma, this invisible universal Paramatma? How should I have the concept of that he pervades everything? How should I understand him? For that, that salt and water example is brought, and how salt pervades the water, even though the salt is not visible. You taste the salt. Same way we don't taste the Paramatma, but we can feel the presence of it. We see this greatest things that are going in the universe, the all wonderful things that are happening in the universe. And we say something, some super force is doing that. We can feel it. Of course, logically we cannot prove it, but we can feel it. So that concept, how we should understand, that is explained in the salt and water. So this is step by step, the examples are progressed, and they give more and more. Now that's why he says bhuya eva, bhuya eva. Every time he gives an instruction, he Swetaketu gets the instruction from Uddalaka. Uddalaka gives the instruction. Swetaketu asks, tell me more, tell me more. Sa ya yesho animaitadatmyam idam sarvam tat satyam sa atma tattvamasi. Swetaketu, when he tells, oh Swetaketu, that thou art not, when he says, then Swetaketu says, iti bhuya eva mam bhagavan vijnapayatu. Oh Father, tell me more, tell me more. Appa, Tande, tell me more about this Paramatma. I want to know more about him. So, Bhagavan, Vignapayatu, tell me more. And then Father says, Tatha Somya, okay, dear son, I'll tell you more. So, this is how the progression is made, and this is definitely establishing the difference between the examples are 100% Panchabheda Pratipadaka examples. And they ignore all these examples. They try to twist the examples, twist the statements, and say Jiva Brahma are same. In our real life, we must have this correct understanding so that it is for our own sake, for our children's sake, for the whole society's sake. People should try to spread this correct knowledge and oppose the wrong knowledge. This is very important. That is how it is applicable to us. So I'll pass it here so that any questions are there, you can feel free to ask the questions. Hare Srinivasa, Krishna Pramastu. If you
Thank
have any
you.
questions, here. Yeah, go ahead. If there are no questions, we'll continue in some other time. Hare Srinivasa. So if you remember any questions, not only Gita related, if you have any questions about this philosophy anywhere else also, feel free to ask the questions. If you don't remember, you want to ask later through a listing or through email or through any other means or next class, anytime, feel free to ask questions. So I'll be glad to help whatever I can tell. Hare Srinivasa.
Hare Srinivasa.
ಹರೇ ಶ್ರೀನಿವಾಸ.
Hare
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ
Srinivasa.
ಗುರುಗಳೇ.
Namaskar.
Hello.
Hello, any questions are there?
I don't see any questions, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll
Okay.
meet next week. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Thank you, sir. Hare
Thank you.
Srinivasa.